Welcome to From the Trenches, success shortcuts revealed by real-world innovators crushing it right now. I'm your host, Scott Hartley, and we're back with another episode packed with actionable strategies from today's most successful entrepreneurs. If you're tired of generic business advice and ready for real cutting-edge tactics that are working right now, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into how to transform your business from being a job into a business that can scale using the clone the owner methodology. And I can't wait for my guest to share his transformational insights with you. So I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Dean Mercado. He is the founder and CEO of Online Marketing Muscle and the #1 best-selling author of The Mind Stretch, 49 Inspiring Insights for Business Breakthroughs. He's also a well-respected small business coach, author, and speaker with expertise in helping small business owners around the globe raise their game and level up their business. Dean, it's so exciting to have you on the podcast today.
Scott, it's wonderful to be here with you, man. Always enjoy conversation with you.
Absolutely. And so we've had a delay getting this podcast recording going today because we've been tied up in some great conversation catching up a little bit beforehand. But I'm excited to have you here to share with our guest, because I know that for myself, when I had my IT business, especially, I didn't know what I didn't know when I first started it. It's like, hey, I've got this skill set. Let me go start a business. And ultimately, and very quickly, I found myself that I just created a job instead of like, oh, this is something that I really enjoy going to. These are things that I enjoy doing every single day. And I have a feeling that a lot of our listeners today are probably in the same boat. And so I'm looking forward to the insights that you're going to share on how we can get out of that job space and into transforming our business into something that what we've desired it to be.
Right. Excellent. Well, first and foremost, again, thanks for having me here. And I'm happy to share what I know. I've been in the trenches for a long time, man. It's been a long time. And for those of you who don't know me, I did start out in corporate America. I spent about a dozen years there working for some of the best and brightest companies on the planet. I got to travel a bit around the world. I got to manage very large projects. So I've seen a lot. A lot. But then I realized my whole life I was really meant to be an entrepreneur. And the last several decades, I've spent that time in the trenches just thinking, if I could just make a little bit of what I was making for the company I was working for myself, I'm not a slob. I don't need a lot. I just need a little bit. I'd be a really happy guy. Yeah. And then I realized that when I went in and actually started formally creating businesses, I got my rear end kicked everywhere because I did not know what I did not know. And I kept creating jobs for myself that just... it would have been easier to stay with another company and let them just pay me a paycheck than killing myself like I was doing, trying to make things happen. So after banging my head against the wall for many years and a few different failures along the way, and I never say failures as a bad thing. Failures are how we learn. Yep. That is how we learn. And if we can grow from those failures, that's a great thing. I did grow from those failures. I was the kid who grew up. I have 4 brothers, but 3 of them are older. My youngest one, he don't count. He came so many years later, he don't count. But having 3 older brothers, I saw those guys make every single freaking mistake known to man. So me being the youngest, I was watching them make the mistake. I didn't have to make that mistake. I already saw what they did, and I saw the response that they got from it. So no, don't do that, right? Don't do that. So I've taken that same approach to business. And as I started to screw my head on a little bit better, I realized I needed a coach. I needed some guidance. I needed to start talking with people who've been there, done that. And that's one big mistake we all seem to make as entrepreneurs. We try and go it alone. As I mentioned before, Scott, you and I got on this call about working in a silo by ourselves or with our small little team, not always the best approach, right? So finding ways to circumvent that. And I've always been hell-bent on that because of my upbringing, because I saw the value of it from my relationships with my brothers and my family growing up. So I got some coaching. I got a little smarter. At the time when I first started getting coaching, I had 3 companies I was running, and they all sucked. They all were doing nothing, and I thought I was hot stuff because I was running 3 companies. I'm so cool. And, yeah, right. At the end of the day, are we making ends meet? Oh, we're struggling. Yeah, that's probably not so good. So I remember my coach saying to me at the time, she said, I see you running these 3 businesses. And we started looking at the numbers, and she's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 2 of those companies and we're going to put them on the shelf for a year. And, we'll let you keep one of them. And we're going to take that one and we're going to work that one and we're going to get it to where you feel it really should be. Mm-hmm. Right. And then at the end of that year, we'll look back. And if you still want those other companies, you want one of them back, I'll let you take one of them back. Right. And I'm like, no, I can't. I love these companies that are so much fun. I did great. And right. I had every excuse in the book, resisting change. Mm-hmm. Right. Resisting in every way possible, kicking, screaming the whole way. And, with my background as Scott, as coming from New York, I'm no longer in New York, folks. I'm recovering New Yorker. I'm sure a lot of expletives came out of my mouth when I was saying no freaking way. And it was a little worse than that.
Right.
But I did. I shelved 2 of the companies. The one that I kept was Online Marketing Muscle. That's the company I still own and operate to this day, over 20 years later. So I guess the approach was appropriate. The other 2 companies, one was a network marketing or kind of a thing, a potion. And the other one was a dog pill, like a diet pill for dogs. And so all had possibility and promise. Sure. But my passion lied more with Online Marketing Muscle. So I kept that and I kept moving it. Now, you don't stay in business 20 years without growing and morphing. Mm-hmm. Online Marketing Muscle looks a lot different today than it did 20 years ago. Right? 20 years ago, I was speaking on stages trying to convince people why they needed to have a website. People didn't even have websites back then. They were like, and it seems like, really? That was just 20 years ago? Yeah, 20 years ago, people would fight me why they need a website. Right. And I'm like, dude, you need a website. No, I don't. That's garbage. That's, I got laughed at, Scott, in the beginning. They were like, they were like, oh, I thought you were a smart guy, but yet you're doing this internet marketing thing. The internet's a fad. Why would you be looking to, that's how far back this goes, folks, for those of you listening. But yeah, who's laughing now? Some 20 something years later.
Now it's almost impossible to find somebody that doesn't have a website.
That's right.
Some shape or form, right?
So I'd like to humor myself for a second and say that I was very, I had some good forethought at the time, that I saw it coming. Yeah. And maybe I did and maybe I don't. Bottom line, I was in the right place at the right time for that. But, so going through all these pains of growing is what led to the whole clone the owner concept and methodology. Because while I always saw myself as a smart guy, there were certain things that I just weren't doing very intelligently. And that was trying to do everything myself. That's why I was so drawn to the concept of automation. And I'm even more drawn to the concept of automation and AI, because it's always about the concept of leverage. Leverage is what Clone the Owner is about. It's about getting leverage on your business, right? The concept, and I forget the guy's name. He was around in the Keep ecosystem for a little while. And he was talking about when anything that comes down the pipe at you, you either eliminate, you automate, or you delegate. And I've been saying that too for a very long time. I didn't trademark it, but I'm not trying to take credit for it. I just believe in it. Sure. So I forgot the guy's name. He's got a book out that he talks about it in that book. If I hear the guy's name, I'll know. But anyway, so with everything that was coming down the pipe at me, I've always taken that approach to it. I look to, if 10 things are coming at me, how many of them can I just eliminate? How many of them really just don't add value? They're the nice to haves, not the need to haves. There's a big difference, folks. If you don't know, get a coach. Your coach will help you see that. So it's about knowing what you should be focusing your energy and your efforts and your resources on, right? And then we take the second step of that and we look to automate. We look to automate anything that's still on the plate, right? Can I automate it? Because if I don't automate it, guess who gets stuck doing it? Me.
Yep.
And I don't want to be that guy doing it, right? So, and then we go to delegate last. I never want to hire somebody if I can either eliminate the task in the first place or automate it, right? And now we all have this great thing called AI, and I encourage all of you to, at a minimum, grab a ChatGPT premium subscription for $20 a month. Name your assistant, your new assistant, something, and start working with her or him, and figuring out how you can use that thing to clone yourself. Train it to think like you, train it to talk like you, train it to help you do what you do, so you can get it out there a little better, faster, cheaper than what you're doing now.
It's amazing, when you think of that. And Michael Hyatt was the guy that you and I both heard about, the eliminate, automate, delegate.
Yeah, quite possible. Yes.
At the Keep event. But, when you can leverage those things, and this takes time, right? Is, going through, making a list of everything that you're doing and figuring out. And the hardest part, I don't know which one. I think the bookends of that are the hardest part for me, because it's like, I don't really want to give this up. Like, this is so much fun. I enjoy doing this, or, whatever. But no, that's not the highest and best use of my time. This isn't bringing any benefit to the business. So to eliminate that, just like you having to put those 2 businesses on the shelf, it's like, yes. But I like these. These are my babies, right?
That's right.
So eliminating can be hard. And then the delegation part has always been a challenge for me, because I've been of that mindset of like, nobody can do it as good as I can. I'm the only one that can actually get something done and get it, done the way that it needs to be done. Fortunately, I've had a breakthrough this year. I've had a breakthrough. I was able to document a process, both in video and in writing, and I was able to hand that off to an assistant, and they're doing it just as well, if not better, than what I could be doing it. And now it's freed me up to do better things and more things in my business. But it's tough getting there.
Yes. And what you just spoke about is the essence of the Clone Owner methodology. Now, the Clone Owner methodology starts with, at its core, it starts with having a proper vision. If you don't know where you're going, how could you expect to ever get there? You really need to be crystal clear. And everybody who has a stake in this business needs to be crystal clear where we're going exactly and why. Why does it matter that we get there? So most businesses, I'm saying, and yes, I'm calling all of you out there that are listening, do not have a proper vision that you adhere to every single day. When was the last time you actually pulled up your vision and read it and looked at it and said, yes, that is exactly why we exist? I prescribe to the formula that a vision has 3 parts to it. It has your purpose, or your why, your purpose statement. Why do you do what you do? For me, it's energizing small business success. That's my purpose. That's what I do, right? That's my why, right? And then there's a mission statement. Where are you going? What by when? It's like the big, hairy, audacious goal is what I look at as a mission. Where are you going with this thing, right? And then your core values. I call that the beginnings of your how. How do you expect yourself and your team to carry themselves? How do you expect them to behave? How do you want to show up for the people that are going to be spending their money with you, right? So getting that vision locked down, and this is not something to gloss over. And I'll tell you, folks, I went to college. I've got a master's degree. When I was going for my master's degree back in the day, I said, that's all a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of frou-frou stuff. Because back then, in the 80s, going into the 90s, I'm dating myself a little bit. It was a lot of crap. Corporations would write their vision and mission down, and they'd paste it on the wall, and they never, ever paid any mind or attention to it. They didn't live by it. It was just a load of crap. It was just words on the wall. They meant nothing, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about really establishing why you're doing what you're doing, who you're doing it for, what exactly are you going to do? How are you going to get people that you want to spend money with you to separate themselves from that hard-earned money that they worked so hard to get it. You better be damn good. You better be clear on what it is. So we start with that vision. Mm-hmm. So in my coaching practice, we do spend time there getting people to get that locked down. And surprisingly, one of the biggest areas we spend a lot of time is the outer band of the methodology. And I'll just put this in front of the screen here for people to see that. Maybe they could see that. The vision is at the center. You see it as an outer band to this methodology. And folks, this could be found on my website, Online Marketing Muscle. You could find this diagram. And that outer band is your mindset. And I always say, and this was a hard one for me to learn, your business will only grow to the degree that you do. If you're not constantly looking to grow yourself and how you perceive things, right? Because Scott, as we said before we got on this call, perception is reality. Yep. Perception is reality. And that comes out of that guy back there. That was something I wrote many years ago. That's what I believe. How people perceive you becomes your reality with that person. Yep. Right? So if your mindset isn't right, it's going to come across, it oozes out of you. And your target market is going to see it. They can smell it. That's like a desperate salesperson. You ever come across a desperate salesperson? Absolutely. And they're trying to hard sell you so bad, right? Yep. And it's like, oh, that stench, that smell, it's horrible, right? Yeah. So getting the mindset correct is one of the biggest battles that every entrepreneur faces. It's why 99% of all of you out there are not where you think you should be. It's not because of this software company screwed me over. It's not because of, these tools don't work right, or I don't have all the help I need. It starts here. Yep. What's going on between your ears, right? When that gets fixed, when that gets corrected, and you get clarity around that, amazing how everything just starts to unfold in front of you. All the things that you're looking for, they're all there. There's no shortage of anything. There's abundance everywhere. It's just with our mindset, the way it currently is, we can't see it. Yep. We have these blinders on, these filters. We don't see it. Yeah. Right?
It's kind of that 80-20 principle. 80% of business success is in the mind. 20% is the tactic and the strategy. And, one of the things that I've had to learn over the years, and that I now try to impart to, my clients and others that I have conversations with is, never look at things as obstacles. Look at them as opportunities.
That's right.
What's the opportunity in this situation? And again, it's that mindset shift, right?
Excellent.
And even in the services that I provide, when around getting your emails delivered, it's like we have to shift our thinking about why we're doing email marketing and then the how that we do email marketing. It requires that shift. Again, everything goes back to the mind, like you're talking about, right?
Spot on. And this is why you're successful, and you'll be even more successful going forward. You got to recognize these things about yourself. And there's nothing wrong with identifying when you're doing something well. Not only just pointing out when we're not doing things well, but when we're doing something right. That's a good thing too. And understanding that the mindset is not something that stands still. It's something that always has to be evolving and developing. And it is, as an entrepreneur, your responsibility to do that. It's no one else's responsibility to give you money. It's no one else's responsibility to make your business successful. It's not your coach's responsibility. And I have that conversation with a lot of clients all the time. It's not my responsibility. It's your responsibility. You've got to take what I'm gifting you and you've got to use it. If you don't use it, it doesn't help. That's like Scott. They bring you in to help them with setting up their whole email marketing plan, right? And you make sure that their stuff is deliverable to the inbox, right? And you've got them really ratcheted up, but then they never send a damn email. I mean, really?
Yeah.
And then they're looking at you like, Scott, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I bought your book. I bought your consulting services. Scott, the email marketing isn't working. Well, you got to send an email, folks. It's really that simple. So, we get into vision a lot. We get into mindset a lot. Revolving around that core of vision. We talk about a big, important trifecta, and it revolves and just spins around it. And it starts with systems. You want leverage in your business, you best be creating systems. Those systems are what allows you to automate, because you can't automate a moving target, folks. You've got to put a stake in the ground and say, this is it. This is what it is, right? And then you could automate it. You can't delegate something that's moving either. You've got to put a stake in the ground and say, here's the system, here's the process, here's the procedure, here's the SOP for it, right? Once you get that nailed down, it's very easy to automate. It's very easy to delegate. So taking the time to step back just for a few moments and systematize it, right? Create the systems. Look at your business and say, okay, if I can only create one system this month, which one would it be? And I could tell you, for most of you suck at lead generation. You don't have enough leads in your business. That might be the one you should look at. Take a step back, create a system around that. Not sure? Hire somebody who knows how to do it well. Let them help you develop that system for your company. If you have leads coming in all the time, you're never hungry.
Yeah.
You're never hungry. It changes everything. When you're hungry, you make bad decisions. When you're well fed, you make very good decisions. Right? So with our colonial owner methodology, we focus on systems in a big way because we know how critical they are. Now, I didn't just make that up. I learned that working in big corporate America, from the companies I worked for. It's no surprise they were the best companies on the planet because they did this stuff and they did it great and they were very anal about it.
Yeah.
There was no messing around, and I'll get to creating that system tomorrow. The old, I'll pay you next Tuesday for a hamburger today, using an old Popeye reference, right? Got to create the systems, folks. And then the next step beyond that, then we look to say, okay, now that I have the system, I look at what team do I need to implement that system? I don't hire a team first and then figure out what the system is. I don't create systems based on team that I already have. I build systems based on what the company needs to get to where it wants to go in its vision. Once I know where the company wants to go, we create the systems that can get it there. And then we look at the team and say, okay, what team do we need? Do we have any of those current players on board already? If not, who do we need to trade up? And that was a painful lesson for me, man. Oh, I remember coaches telling me back in the day, well, and even my wife coaching me, years back, I had a guy who worked for me. He was the COO of my company. And it was like, I love the guy. We had a great time playing together. And I say playing because it was fun, but we weren't making money. So my wife was like, you got to get rid of the guy. It's just not working out. It's not adding any more value, and it's just money going out. And it was like, oh boy, but I love him. We're friends. We have a great time. We laugh. We listen to the same music as me. How could it be any better than that? We're not making money, Dean. Oh, man. She's like, you like him so much? Go out to have drinks with him once a week, but he shouldn't work here. You know, it's like, let him move on to what's better fit for him. So again, we bring on team that can handle the systems we've created, not the other way around. Most people get that backwards. They already have team, and now they're trying to fit the systems to that person who doesn't really do a good job, but we like them. And we're afraid to address it with them. And we're afraid to have that conflict, where, hey, it's not really working out. I think you should go find something that's a better fit for you. In addition to this, we got the systems, and then we look to build the team around that. Then we've got to put our controls in place. That's the third big piece of that. We've got to have measurements that tell us whether or not the systems and or the teams are working. Are they moving us systematically closer to our vision, or are they not? There's no middle ground. Either it's working or it's not. And coming to the reality of that is one of the hardest things for us entrepreneurs to deal with, because no one wants to come to that realization that maybe they're not doing so well. Maybe it's failing. Maybe it's not as successful as it needs to be. Maybe something's wrong. Maybe that something is me. Maybe I'm the bottleneck. Maybe I'm the problem. And that's one of the hardest things us as entrepreneurs will ever deal with, is that possible realization that maybe the problem is me. right? So then as we get that trifecta going around and around, we've enveloped that trifecta, with what we call technology. And we had to put a technology band in there because with the onset of all the automation tools and now the onset of AI, there's no ignoring it. It's a big part of this methodology now. And you have to learn how to leverage those automation tools. And there are numerous, right? You don't have to be married or to just one. There's lots, as well as AI, which again, there are stuff coming out. I don't know how many tools are coming out every day, right? With AI,
it's
head starts
crazy.
spinning. It's insane. It's insane. Don't let it bog you down. You don't grab the AI tools first. You figure out what you need, and then you figure out what tool can help you get that.
It's kind of the same, when you're talking about team, you build your system first, and then you go get the team. Well, you have your system in place. What tools help us execute on that system in a much faster and better way?
Spot on. And, folks, you can painfully go it alone. You can painfully fight your way. I did that. I made that mistake. Don't do it. Learn from the elders, like I learned from my older brothers. Don't do what I did. Do what I do now, because that's what works. Right? Things have changed a lot. Yeah, I tried doing it because I had my ego in the way for a long time. Ego can be a very powerful tool, both for good and evil. You've got to be careful how you're wielding it. If you're wielding it where it's not helping you and you're wielding it for evil, very bad. Yeah. And you have to learn how to apply it in your business. So this methodology is a methodology. Inside of this methodology, it goes way deeper. The rabbit holes for each item I've mentioned here goes very deep. There are frameworks for each one of these pieces, templates, you name it. It's all built in there. And someday I'll write it in a book. Yeah. My way of doing things is I write the book when I'm done with that chapter. Meaning like when I wrote the Mind Stretch with my co-author at the time, I was done with that chapter of my life. Now this Clone the Owner is still running. We're still running with that. So I'm not ready to write the book yet. So I might write it in a year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. We'll see where that comes out.
But it will eventually turn itself into a book.
Yeah, most likely. The older I get, the more great people I have access to, like yourself and others. I'm learning every day. I'm a constant growing machine, and I value that. I learn every day. I make it a point to learn every day, and as I do, I like to share. That's just part of my DNA, and that's not only sharing what I know, but sharing other people that I know can help and bring them into the picture. Like you and I have had conversations about to hit the inbox a while back, and we'll probably do to have another one out there across the internet because folks, you can't hear enough about this stuff. You need to know whatever you're going to do. If email marketing is going to be the thing that you do or a thing that you do it great. Yeah. If you're not willing to do it great, think about doing something else. And I say the same thing about being an entrepreneur. If you're not going to be great at it, think about doing something else. There's nothing wrong with working for someone else. Right. Nothing wrong with it. So, and there's no shame in it. If you've been an entrepreneur, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, Scott, maybe you bump into this too. A lot of entrepreneurs will be like, once they've been an entrepreneur, they're ashamed to have to go get a job if the entrepreneur thing doesn't work out. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes it's just not meant to be. One of the hardest things I have to do as a coach is tell people, shut it down. It's, it doesn't make sense. The numbers aren't adding up. And unless you're going to do something different, and you're expecting a different result, what's that definition they call that? Insanity. Insanity. Yep. Right. But this is what we bump into, and recognize it in yourself, folks. Anybody listening to this or watching this, if it comes out on video, if you hear these words, check yourself, make sure, and get help. Right. Yeah. Every business owner should have a coach. A coach doesn't only look like somebody like me who helps you scale a business. A coach looks like somebody like Scott, who helps you maximize what you could do in the areas of expertise that he has. Why would you want to spend 10 years learning what Scott knows when you could pay him a small amount of money and learn what he knows in an hour?
Yeah.
Right.
That's really what business is about, is leverage. Another part of that team piece is leveraging the people who have expertise in the areas that you need it. So, that's your accountant, that's your lawyer, that's your social media person, that's, your email marketing person, that's your copyright. There's all these different pieces that you don't need to be an expert in that, but you need to be an expert in how to leverage those people, right?
That's right. You're spot on. And, as the saying has gone for the last several years, speed is the new currency. And if I can get out of Scott in an hour everything that I need to know and get that set up, and I could take that knowledge and I could earn hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions maybe in revenue, what's that worth to me?
Yeah.
What's that worth? And for anybody listening to this, what's that worth to you? We all want other people to buy our services, but are we buying other people's services? And I'll tell you, there's something to that, right? If you find that you're not attracting people to buy your services, check yourself whether or not you're buying other people's services.
Yeah.
Because it's just like attracts like. So if you're hoarding and holding back, what do you think the people you're going after are doing? You're attracting the same person to you, and they're holding back and hoarding.
It reminds me of a quote that I saw on Facebook the other day. It was in one of the groups that I'm a part of. But, we all hear the phrase that they are a self-made millionaire.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yet, a lot of people, and I'm sad to admit, I'm kind of this same way, but I tend to be a saver. But there's not such a phrase as a self-saved millionaire.
Right.
You have to spend money
in
order to make money, right? And so it's that same concept that you're talking about. And I've thought about this, many times, is like, if we're not willing to invest in our own business by getting the services from other people, why should we expect others to invest in us to help them grow their business or improve their personal lives, whatever it is that we offer? It like you said, it's like attract like, and it starts with our mindset, right?
That's
what
right.
Are we thinking? Because what we think translates into our actions.
That's correct. And I think you said the golden word there, invest. Invest. Folks, it's about investing in yourself, right? This clone the owner methodology, if you implement it, that's an investment in yourself. What are you worth to yourself? Think about that. To me, I can't invest enough in myself. I'm the guy who's read 1,000 business books by this time in my life. I don't say that to brag. I just say that because I knew there were gaps in my understanding of things, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to know, and I've been around for a long time. So, if I'm the guy gobbling a book a week, for decades, it's going to add up to a lot of books over time. So, but I never claim that I'm the source of all my wisdom. I stand on the shoulders of a lot of greats, a lot of them. I was a very lucky guy that I've gotten mentored in my life by some amazing people from the day I was born to today. And I always say, run away from the coach who doesn't have a coach. Everybody needs coaching. Everybody needs people in their corner that are just looking out for them. Just looking out for them. Keep me out of my own way so that I can succeed. Because, we're all human and we're all prone to making mistakes, and it's okay, right? We give ourselves permission to make mistakes. That's how we grow. As long as we're learning from that, there's growth that follows that, right? So a lot of possibility, man. A lot of possibility.
Absolutely. Well, I know that you've got a free resource on your website that is kind of related to the systems aspect, of the Clone the Owner methodology. Do you want to just touch upon that real quick and tell people where they can go to watch that?
Sure, absolutely. I was recently on a big stage for a big industry, and I did that presentation, and it had to do with leverage, the concept of leverage. It had to do with systems. And I lay out a lot of stuff in there. Now, that's not me presenting on the stage. That was me after I got off the stage a little bit after. And I just did it on my own in front of my own computer and said, you know what? That was so good. Let me share it with the people who couldn't pay to be at that event. Mm-hmm. And that's what that particular recording is. It's about 39 minutes, right? Condensed, very quick. Yeah, you might have to watch it a few times to catch all the little nuggets I'm throwing in there. Mm-hmm. But if you take the time to get to know who I am and what I'm about, you'll see I don't hold back. Yeah, I never hold back. And I'd be hard pressed to think that you're not going to find something in there that you're not going to find extremely valuable. It'll be one of the best 39-minute investments in yourself I think you'll make and in your business. Because it's all about how do I leverage and use systems to grow my business. So a lot in there, but still, that's only 39 minutes worth. There's still a lot more behind that.
Oh, sure.
So, worth you checking out. It's right on the homepage of my onlinemarketingmuscle.com website right now. You'll see it. It's right under the fold, right at the top of the page. You can't miss it. I would say grab it soon because I'm about to go on a big stage again in 2 weeks, and I'll probably have a different one that I'm going to put up there because I'm speaking on something AI related next in 2 weeks. So this one was a big one I presented. It was almost a year ago. Okay. But it's just as relevant today as it was then, if not more so. So don't discount it. Grab it. I do email marketing too, but I'll put that disclosure out there. I will not hound you. I'm not one of those guys. If we're ever meant to work together, we'll both know it. That's what I always say to everybody. So my stuff will hit the inbox, right?
Yep.
Hopefully. But, hopefully, if you look at this, you'll find the value out of it, and let me know. If it sucks, tell me that too. If it's great, tell me that too. I want to know because I'm all about and always have been about trying to add as much value as I can, while I can, while I still have the energy to do this. So
awesome. Well, Dean, I really appreciate you being here today. This has been really insightful, just breaking down, those different facets of the Clone the Owner methodology. I know that, I've gotten a lot out of our conversation today. I know that our listeners probably have as well. And if you can't tell, Dean is really passionate about what he does. So definitely go check out the on-demand webinar, Leveraging the Power of Systems to Level Up. We'll put the link in the show notes, but you can go to onlinemarketingmuscle.com. If you have an interest in exploring more of what it would be like to work with Dean, you've got a taste of his energy here today and the passion that he brings and the wisdom that he can bring as well. Reach out to him as well. We'll put contact information in the show notes. So, Dean, thanks for being here today and joining me on this conversation. And if you're looking to supercharge your email marketing, check out my book, Hit the Inbox, at hittheinboxbook.com. It's packed with 76 pages of strategies to get your emails landing in inboxes and driving sales. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. It helps us reach more entrepreneurs like you. And until next time, keep crushing it in the trenches.